Sorry this had to be done in two parts. When I pressed pause, I apparently pressed stop or something on my phone, and I wasn't able to go back and add more to the video. Anyway, the final main character is Felicia. She is also the daughter of Celia and the sister of Lourdes. She was married 3 times. She has 3 children and lives in Cuba. At the beginning of the book, we learn she had a strained relationship with her father. This was due to her marrying a man her father did not approve of. This was her first husband, Hugo. She birthed all 3 of her children by him, 2 girls and 1 boy who came later on. He was abusive and cheated on her and left her and came back giving her syphilis and impregnating her with the 3rd child. When she got fed up with everything that he was doing, she tried to set him on fire. He didn't die, but he did leave her and not return. Felicia suffered a lot throughout the book from depression and mental illness. At one point, she tried to kill her youngest son and herself by putting crushed pills on ice cream after dinner. They didn't die, though. After this, her children went to boarding school. She was very spiritual and often consulted the Santerius practitioners to help her heal both mentally and physically. She also went to them to seek guidance on love. She was told that basically she would never have love in a situation that would end well. This ended up proving to be true later in the book. She married again, and was very in love, but her husband died in a tragic grease fire at a restaurant. She fell back into major depression, and she tried to harm the woman she thought was guilty of killing her husband in the fire. She did this by burning the woman with a perm. She then started forgetting life and not remembering things. The next thing she knew, she was married to a new man who loved her very, very much and sort of pitied her, but she ended up throwing him off a Ferris wheel when he tried to get fresh with her. Towards the end of the book, she dies in her mother's arms, sad and lonely from illness. On the visit to Cuba, Celia passes on her memories to Pilar. Lourdes tries to make amends with her mother, but struggles really, really hard with this. Their opposing political views, I think, probably contributed to that tension. And Pilar and Lourdes both take in how hard life is in Cuba. And Pilar is starting to she's starting to realize that Cuba's just not this place that she's fantasized about. Lourdes takes a liking to her nephew, Felicia's youngest and only son. She helps him get into a Peruvian embassy so he might seek refuge in another country and eventually end up with her in the United States. Pilar also realizes she would like to go back home to New York and that Cuba probably isn't the place for her. At this point, she feels very at peace with her decision now that she was able to spend these final moments with her grandmother and get her grandmother's life history. When the book moves to parts of Celia revealing her past is through these letters that she wrote to her first lover, Gustavo, as I mentioned earlier. She wrote letters to him for over 20 years after he left her. The letters described her life, her problems, and the political climate of Cuba. They spoke of the moment she finally fell in love with Jorge, her second husband, her worries of her children and for her children, and the time that she spent committed in the insane asylum. She finally stopped writing when her granddaughter Pilar was born, and she said that this was because she no longer needed to write to carry on her memories. At the very end of the book, she drops the pearl earrings she received from Gustavo years earlier into the ocean. Throughout the book, she was known to always have these earrings. They were a very important symbol in the book. To me, when she released them into the ocean, this symbolized her letting go and finally, her journey was done and coming to an end. But with how it ends, it's kind of hard to tell. Spirituality was a major theme in the book, as mentioned. It is also a very important part of the Latina experience. A journal article that I read brought up a good point. It was saying how in Latino culture, it's often the women who ensure spiritual needs are upheld, met, and passed on in the families. Many Latino families are very religious in regards to God. In this book, that figure and that woman was Lourdes. Others focus more on folkloric spirituality and other spiritual beliefs, be it voodoo, Santeria, or other pre-Columbian beliefs or indigenous beliefs. This is similar to the other women in the book. I appreciated how it moved from what we traditionally see in Latino culture in the United States to culture accepted and practiced in other Latino prominent countries. Although this made me wonder if while we who are not Latino don't see it, does it really mean that these things aren't being practiced here? So to look into that, I did some research and I found that regarding the practice of other spiritual beliefs here in the United States, one study stated that 57% of Hispanics in the United States believe that people can be possessed by spirits. 44% say that they believe in witchcraft and that it can influence our lives and is very, very real. 42% feel that we can communicate with either the dead, saints, or both. And it was also interesting to see that a lot of the people who felt this way also identified with traditional religious beliefs.